Hi, everybody. It's Maxine Doogan here again with another edition of Dominate the Nation here on the Sexworkernation channel. I'm a currently working prostitute of 30 plus years and pretty much plan on working for another 30 plus more. So today we're going to review an interview that Kamala Harris did when she was the California U.S. Senator in 2019 with Roots, where she's talking about the decrim of prostitution. So let's review that video now as it's appropriate because she is a current front runner for the next president of the United States. So here we go.
Recently, you supported FOSTA. There are many sex workers who feel that that law wasn't insensitive to their lives. What is your response to that?
So FOSTA, which stands for Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, was passed in 2018. She voted for it as a U.S. Senator, and then President Trump signed it into law. So that law said that any websites that have anything to do with advertising people that were forced into the sex trade could be held liable under the federal sex trafficking laws. And so that had a chilling effect on all these websites across the United States that were featuring any type of erotic labor, whether it was legal or illegal, the online content creators or adult film performers or people that were selling lingerie or writing erotica. They all got kicked off these websites. All these platforms deplatformed them. And because they were afraid of being charged with being sex traffickers somehow at the federal level. So that was a disastrous law because anybody who was arrested under that law could have already been arrested under existing law, under the federal sex trafficking existing laws. They didn't need to deplatform and chill the legal speech of all these people under the guise of, trying to prevent forced labor in the sex industry on these platforms. Even prostitution is a legal form of speech. I can say I'll provide sex service A, B, or C for X, Y, and Z. That is legal speech, right? Here in America. So that's why the Roots interview is asking her about it.
Well, you should know my history on the issue. I mean, back when I was DA, and remember, I was elected DA over 15 years ago, actually. I took office in 2004, and I was advocating then that we have to stop arresting these prostitutes and instead go after the Johns and the pimps, because...
Wait a minute. You do not need to be arresting our customers, and you do not need to be conflating our customers with people who are forcing people into the sex industry. That is way inappropriate. Those are different types of, totally different groups of people, and no.
We were criminalizing the women, but not the men who associated with it and making money off of it and profiting off of it.
So here again, she is associating our customers with profiting off of our labor, our sexual labor somehow, like we're giving the customers money. No, that's not the way it works, Kamala.
I started even before I was elected DA. So this would have been 2000, 2002, a whole coalition that was focused on what I called sexually exploited youth, which other people were calling teenage prostitutes, because the system was arresting these young people instead of understanding that they needed to be in a safe place. And so we advocated for safe houses instead of incarceration.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. So before she became district attorney in San Francisco, she got herself appointed to this sexual assault task force in San Francisco as part of her rise to power here. And so that sexual assault task force, among other things, my mentor, Daisy Anarchy, who's a stripper in the strip clubs at the time, was going to this task force trying to tell them about how there had been all this prostitution going inside the strip clubs, and that the women, the dancers, are being sexually assaulted because customers were expecting that they would be providing all these sexual services. But there was a reason for that. And the reason was that, Kamala's friend, Willie Brown, who was the mayor then, was arresting all these street-based workers and forcing them into the strip clubs to work. So they weren't being arrested for prostitution inside the strip clubs. They were just being arrested for working the streets. So that had the effect of forcing all of these street-based workers into the strip clubs, where people like my friend Daisy was working, doing all these like $20, lap dances. They weren't doing $20 bareback blowjobs. So that created this huge conflict going on inside of the clubs and confusing expectations from the clients. So when Daisy goes to complain to this task force, the sexual assault task force that Kamala Harris is on, and is telling about, these sexual assaults, and they've made police reports about it, and the police aren't doing anything about it, nothing, of course, nothing gets done about it. But instead, this sexual assault task force, goes and sees that there is monies that's put forward to providing this housing for people, youth in the sex trade. And so what that happens is they take $500,000 out of the public health budget and traffic it into this, housing thing, supposedly, for youth who are being forced in the sex trade. And, that house didn't last very long. The funding ran out on it. It was a waste of funding. The Department of Health was mad about it. And it didn't really provide, some stable permanent housing, which is what youth in the sex trade really need. That's what the research shows, right? So, there you go.
These young people. So this is my history with the issue. In terms of Backpage, similarly, Backpage was providing advertisement for the sale of children, of minors.
Okay, that is a lie. That is a complete lie. Backpage was not doing that. People were violating the terms and conditions of Backpage and making illegal services available on Backpage. And, the majority of people that were on Backpage were all adults. So Kamala Harris goes on to charge Backpage at the state level when she was the state attorney general here with, pimping and pandering twice, and those charges were dismissed because they had no basis. So, she's her pursuit, along with some other state attorney generals like Texas, across the U.S., did finally bring a federal case against the Backpage people. It was finally litigated. They were seized in 2018. It's 2024. So 6 years. And so they just went through their second trial in Arizona. And I think, Michael Lacey was convicted on one charge? They illegally brought in a whole bunch of people, in front of this judge and jury that, violated the terms of service of Backpage. And then they want to blame Backpage for, being involved in forced labor. So, that's had an additional chilling effect on the adult industry and on your free speech and what kind of speech you have access to now on the internet. Thank you, Kamala. No.
And unlike Craigslist, which said we're going to stop doing it, the people who are running Backpage basically thumbed their nose at us and kept doing it, making money off of the sale of youth.
So that is a lie. Backpage, once again, they had an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Justice to help them provide any information about any youth that were being illegally had ads, illegal ads on Backpage. And they helped, in many cases, help locate those youth. And when when Backpage was seized by, the Department of Justice, the FBI had letters that they had written that said, no, Backpage has been helping us, identify all these people that are involved in forced labor, and, having that website disappear now is going to cause, where are we going to go to, help these people? So, she's duplicitous here when she is talking about, what Backpage's real role was helping address forced labor in the industry.
And so I called for them to be shut down. And I have no regrets about that. Now, on the issue of providing a safe place for sex workers, I am a huge advocate for that, always have been.
Do you think that sex work ought to be decriminalized?
I think so. I do. I think that we have to understand, though, that it is not as simple as that. It is also about there is an ecosystem around that includes crimes that harm people. And for those issues, I do not believe that anybody who hurts another human being or profits off of their exploitation should be admonished or should be free of criminal prosecution. But when you're talking about consenting adults, I think that, yes, we should really consider that we can't criminalize consensual behavior as long as no one is being harmed. But at the point that anyone's being harmed or exploited, then I think we have to understand that's a different matter.
Recently, you supported FOSTA.
So that is part of the issue here with politicians like Kamala Harris, who want to profit off the criminalization of our labor by saying that, oh yeah, whatever adults do is great, but, then they have to make everything else and rename us as sex trafficking victims, rename our clients as sex traffickers, so they continue to do these prostitution sting operations under the guise of rescuing us, when really they're just charging us with prostitution. So the larger effect of shutting down these online workspaces for people in the sex trade, regardless of what part of the sex trade you're involved in, has resulted in forcing people back onto the street, forcing the workforce back onto the street. That's what passing FOSTA-SESTA did. That's what shutting down Backpage did. It forced all this workforce that was working online back to the street. And it took all of our customers with us back to the street. So now when you have these, cities that are crying about, oh, there's all these street-based workers in our neighborhoods, la, la, la. Well, you know what? You can blame Kamala Harris for that. You can blame President Trump for that. You can blame all of those Democrats, in the House and the Senate who voted for this bad law and supported the criminalization of prostitution by criminalizing our speech, by criminalizing our online platforms. So in this, particular presidential campaign, we're calling for the decriminalization of prostitution by removing FOSTA-SESTA altogether and stop criminalizing our online speech unduly. Have a good day.